Hey everyone, welcome to Behind the Headlines. Today we have a very special episode. I'm here at Foothills Park in Palo Alto at the Interpretive Center, and I'm joined by Ranger Kathleen Jones. She is with the City of Palo Alto Open Space, and I'm also joined by Renee Fitzsimons. Renee is the Program Manager for Docents, Interpretation, and Environmental Education with the Midpeninsula Regional Open Space District.
Got it.
That's a mouthful.
It is, it really is.
You got it.
You can call it the district.
The district, all right. So we are here because we live in a beautiful place where there's a lot of open space. And I think sometimes people are aware that there's open space here, but they might not know what kind of programs there are in the area and activities, docent-led and otherwise. And so we are here with experts and who can speak a little bit more about this. I also want to say we're joined by Palo Alto staff reporter and writer, Sue Dremann. So thanks, Sue, for joining us.
Sure.
All right, so if we could just start with, can you tell me a little bit about the lesser-known programs and activities the district offers?
Certainly. I think that, as you mentioned, a lot of folks live in the Bay Area. Some have been here a long time, some relatively new, and having an opportunity to get out in nature and be in one of our open space preserves is something some folks might be hesitant to do on their own. So one way that they can get out and enjoy those locations is by going on a guided activity. And for the district, we have those activities are guided by docents. Everything is provided by their volunteers, docent naturalists, and we have anywhere from 50 to 75 activities offered in a quarter. So winter, spring, summer, fall.
Okay.
And I know that Kathleen too here at this preserve, but also at some of your other Palo Alto open space locations, you have opportunities to go out on your own or with someone as well,
Exactly,
right? What are some
yeah.
of your favorite?
Oh, let's see.
Because you do some as well.
I do most of them, not all. I love doing the twilight hike that we have at Arrastradero.
Oh, tell me more about that.
Do that usually once a month, the first or second Saturday, and just before closing. So it's when the day is changing to the night shift, day shift to night shift, and we see what animals are around, or birds, or I'll talk about a little bit about the history of the preserve and the plants and things like that. And if we're lucky, we see a bunch of owls.
Oh, wow.
That's the big attraction for me.
That's special.
Yeah, so it is. It's great. And what are some of the other things? We do fishing with a ranger, which is good for kids, 5 to 15. We have people make their own poles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they get a willow switch, piece of line, a hook, a sinker, a bobber, and a worm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
What do they catch? Do they actually
They catch
things?
either largemouth bass or red ear sunfish. So got that in there. It's usually, most people throw them back in, so you have a chance to get the big ones.
Is that here at Foothills Park?
It's here at Foothills Park, yeah.
Do they sit in boats or
No, it's on the shore. On the shore,
Mm-hmm.
but if you can bring your own hand-powered craft if
that's
you
what I
want.
was going to
or
ask.
We rent canoes on the weekends and holidays.
Nice.
The one thing people mostly know is that Foothills Park is for Palo Alto residents and their accompanied guests. So if you want to do a program with us, you need to be accompanied by someone else who is a resident.
Okay.
But Arrastradero Preserve, Baylands, no problem.
Okay, that's good to know. I noticed just perusing your website, there are some docent led tours that kind of caught my eye, and I wanted to learn a little bit more about them.
Sure.
The arachnophilia.
So one of the great joys of getting to work with docents is people come with a lot of different of their own interests that then are the genesis behind a program, an activity that they want to offer. And I have a core group of folks who there's some overlap there. The folks who like to be out on the preserves at night and lead guided activities, and the only way you can be out on one of the district preserves at nighttime is with a docent.
Okay.
And so that obviously promotes some things like going out and looking for spiders. So it is not a hike that you would plan on coming to do something aerobic, because you're spending a lot of time looking close to the ground.
That's right.
Using special, UV flashlights and things like that to find different spiders. But it's also a great opportunity to understand, and the docents love sharing this, is every critter has a special niche out there in the environment. What spiders live in the ground, what spiders live somewhere else, and they will obviously talk about other insects and nighttime critters that they find in addition to spiders.
Oh, wow.
Do you have tarantulas here?
We do have tarantulas.
We do have tarantulas
this whole
here, yep.
area, and we're coming up, into August, September, when you start to see the male tarantulas out on patrol looking for females, and they'll cover quite some distances.
They do. Yeah.
Wow.
To find the females. So that's kind of a seasonal occurrence. It's fun for people to get to see.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
And tell me a little bit about other activities that.
Well, summer is it's a time, obviously, when folks who want to be outside are often looking for a shaded location to do that. So
Okay.
I think we often see in the activities that are offered, and you mentioned online, and then we print an activity guide as well, that a lot of the docents are looking for those preserves that have shade, like El Corte de
Okay.
Madera Creek, which is up across the top of Skyline, and Parissima Creek Redwoods, especially down at the bottom from the coast side. It's a beautiful walk along the creek, and it's second growth redwood, but it's a beautiful slice of the redwood forest that you can see, and learning about that ecology. There's also family activities that I think are great in the summer when you're trying to find things to do with the kids who are home. We offer a geocaching program. The district has a circuit that if you do, you find all the geocaches. And do you know what a geocache is?
I'm vaguely familiar. Can you tell?
Yeah, and I think
that?
I've heard some people describe it as it's a little bit like a treasure hunt using technology. So you have a device. Some people do it on their phone as well, or you can use a GPS unit, and you have coordinates, and you go looking for these treasures, and they can sometimes be disguised in a piece of log, or they're in an ammo canister stuck in a little niche.
They're not
fun.
obvious.
They're not obvious. And the district has an approved circuit, and then we support the larger geocaching community. Caches have to be approved, and they have to be done and attended to in a way that's environmentally sensitive.
Okay.
But it can be a great family activity. I've talked to people who travel the world, like, adults, not just kids, but like that's what one of their things that they do when they travel. And so
It's like a scavenger hunt.
It is.
it is. And you sometimes you leave a little something and you take a little something, like there's
little
little
tokens
treasures
in
or
there,
tokens
yeah.
in there. Sometimes it's more, you learn an environmental kind of message instead. So they have a
Nice.
different basis. But those are great.
People often sign a little book
A
too.
log.
Yeah, there's a log in
and then
there,
you can
yeah.
go online and you log all your treasures. So that's
Wow.
it's a neat way to like take a little technology to nature and vice versa, but to still get people out and engaged.
Silicon Valley meets the outdoors.
Yeah, pretty much.
much so.
Yeah.
There's something for adults as well, isn't you? Don't you have a hike that also involves a winery?
We do on our Piketty Ranch Preserve, although the winery part is on your own after the hike. But it's that's another example of that. It's sometimes not just the nature we get to bring together, but there's cultural and area local history. A lot of the docents are very fascinated about that. So if you go to Piketty Ranch Winery and go for Piketty Ranch Preserve, there is a Piketty Winery there that's operated on a lease agreement with the district, and you can stop in for a little wine tasting or picnic.
Okay.
So that kind of adds to the dimension of appeal.
Yeah.
It'll get you outdoors, and then you'll stay a little longer.
Yeah.
Go on the Zinfandel Trail.
Yes, there is the
That sounds fantastic. So can you tell me a little bit more about the kinds of docent-led opportunities and ranger-led opportunities there are in this area?
We also do special request programs. So
okay.
if you want something special, like you can, there's a fee for it, but we can do just about anything that you're interested in, and we can do it in any of our preserves.
Okay.
Just this past weekend, we had a young man turned 6, and he apparently is quite interested in dirt and tools and things like that. And he
Okay.
wants to be a ranger. And his mother sent me a picture of him with a bag of trash that he picked up by the island in the lake. So one of the other rangers, who's really also into the heavy equipment and tools and things like that, lined up a patrol truck, a tractor, what we call the gator. It's like a little utility vehicle. And some other tools like that, and they were just all over it. And it was just, it was supposed to be a half
So you
hour.
did it like a birthday little celebration.
Yeah,
thing?
that was one of their things. The parents arranged for this ahead of time. So it was for half an hour, but of course it went on much longer because the kids were into it, and the ranger was into it, and the parents were into it. So
Oh, wow.
it was a lot of fun. So tomorrow I'm doing one we call Nature Detectives.
Okay.
Where I pre-hike the trail, as we say.
Yeah.
And I look for things that we have certain flashcards and things like turrets from turret spiders, or to pay attention to these holes in this trunk of this tree, or
Okay.
what's this shrub. And we have numbered flags that put out along the trail, and they correspond to the cards, and they have to help figure out, what is this? Who might
Little
be
nature
living in
CSI.
Yeah, exactly, yes. So
That's
I'll be
really
leading that
cool.
tomorrow. So
Okay.
it's another birthday party. for me.
Oh, nice.
So a lot of our stuff is family friendly. And tonight we're doing, a canoe float on the lake here in Foothills Park. And
What does that involve?
you just get in a canoe and
Okay.
float around the lake after hours, not after open hours, but when we normally, we don't usually have canoes on weekdays,
Oh,
just
okay.
on weekends.
Just on weekends.
And that brings up a good point. That's a difference a bit between what, like the City of Palo Alto's parks and open space compared to the districts is we do have ponds and small lakes, but for the district we don't allow any fishing or swimming or boating or anything like that. So it's a even more passive level of recreation that sometimes we have a small nature center that called the Daniels Nature Center, David C. Daniels Nature Center. Much like this, an interpretive center right on Alpine Pond. And it's not unusual to look out and see a family with their nets and come into, and it's tough to say, gosh, we don't have folks do that, but we are allowed to bring in some like specimens from the pond
Okay.
for the purposes of public education. So I do have docents on the weekend who like to do that. They will have collected some organisms from the pond and set up some microscopes. So visitors are able to come in and do that. So it's a different way to engage with some of the elements that are, found in these areas.
Yeah. So if someone just moved to the area and doesn't really know a lot about the outdoors, how would you recommend that they get involved? Where should they go, either online or location-wise?
Yeah, MidPen has great programs. That's the best introduction to this whole area here. And especially if they're a new Palo Alto resident, go to enjoyonline.cityofpaloalto.org. There's all sorts of programs throughout the city, but you can also sort for just open space. Openspace.org.
Yeah, our website too, pretty robust for, it's like, I think it's the drop down is what to do, and it'll talk about all the preserves and what kind of activities are encouraged there. And then again, the guided activities, especially if people are new, it's a great way to get out. We were chatting earlier when that, often when you have visitors come, and summer is often when family and friends are traveling and coming to see people in the Bay Area, that jokingly saying the first time I ever went to the Golden Gate Bridge or to Alcatraz was when you had people visiting, and it often might be what gets you motivated as a resident, and when you have friends visiting, to check places out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Can we just sort of talk about sort of the breadth of what both the city and MidPen offer? Like, for example, with the city, you've got, I don't think people realize the open space that is controlled by the city involves baylands. I mean, you've got, areas where there's water, you've got, mountains.
It's from
Let's talk about that
marsh.
first.
Yeah, it's marsh all the way up to oak woodland and chaparral, grasslands, all that. We have like 4,000 acres, 2,000 by the baylands and 2,000 up here.
Are there any particular things that it's sort of like hidden gems that people don't know about, that rangers know about, that you would maybe suggest that people might
favorites,
explore?
yeah.
I mean, they have to stay on the trails, however.
Yeah, you have to stay on the trails. I would say I like Rastadero Preserve. It's really good, especially if you're a mountain biker or new to it. It's a good novice to
really
intermediate place to do mountain
Place to
biking.
learn, yeah.
And also you can ride your horse there, especially if you're using the barns at Portola Pastures there. Yes. Some of our trails, unfortunately, got hit very hard during this past rainy winter. So
We're
the
still
best
catching up too.
Yeah, the best trail that we have here is, and the longest is Los Trencos Trail, and part of it goes along Los Trencos Creek, which is the city limit and the county limit. Across the way is it's probably the Pacific Plate, maybe across the way too. But that got hit very hard, so that part of it's closed. We don't have a date for reopening that. So in its stead, you can hike up the fire roads that we've got there. I like Fern Loop too, and there's still some water running.
Nice.
You know, it's really amazing, and that's really shady.
Where's Fern Loop?
Fern Loop is up Wild Horse Valley.
Okay.
So
And-
here in this,
and here in Foothills
Okay.
Park, yeah. In the Baylands, go to Bixby Hills. It's the old landfill, and they've just finished regrading it, recapping it, putting in new trails and stuff. They've made some islands of vegetation that will work. You can't do anything deep-rooted like trees and things like that.
Okay.
But they found some pygmy trees from Morro Bay that will do
nice.
the trick, and they've made these islands and have it's a nice view from 60 feet up, and it's just fun to ride your bike or walk around there too. So I would
Nice.
go there.
All right.
We've got, and what I love is that the Foothills Park and our Los Trencos Preserve connect. And what Kathleen touched on was another thing that's pretty fascinating for people, especially if they're new, is how this area is, right along the San Andreas Fault. So being able to interpret geology and geomorphology, we have every first Sunday of every month, there's a Docent Led hike at Los Trencos Preserve that the focus is on the fault trail and learning about. You can have 1 foot on the North American plate and 1 foot on the Pacific plate,
Yeah.
That's really
and
cool.
and so there's some great things to learn about this area from that perspective as well. We have 63,000 acres and 26 preserves, roughly running from San Carlos down to Los Gatos, primarily along the Santa Cruz Mountains. But we as well have some bayland properties at Shoreline Nature Study Area and Ravenswood Preserve, which is closer to is in East Palo Alto. So there's lots of opportunities. I mean, if someone made it their mission or their endeavor to learn about the different kinds of habitats and environmental communities, you'd be not short of a lot of things to discover. And again, the docent programmings can help with that. If you want to explore on your own by mountain bike, we have those trails as well, and equestrian. So.
Oh, wow. So many options.
Yes, there are a lot of
Man, have you got options?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk a little bit about just safety in general. I know there's sometimes a concern about mountain lions in the area. I know they closed a preserve in Alum Rock
In San Jose.
in San
yes.
Jose due to mountain lions and fires.
And fires.
Yeah, and just kind of the practical response to that. Maybe you can shed some light on that.
I think both of us, from a safety perspective, or our encouragement, our desire would for people to be aware of safety and being prepared means, particularly in the summer, it's hats and water and sunscreen and appropriate clothing. I was out hiking in another area the other day, and it was a trail that allowed dogs, and they didn't have water for their dogs. And in some of our preserves that allow dogs, we get ranger calls for dogs in distress. So there's a whole preparedness piece that I think for us comes up primarily about safety.
We have on our website under publications, Live to Hike Another Day. So it has a lot of tips like that in it, that you can download.
And I think mountain lions, they're a part of this environment, and most of us would say, I would love to see a mountain lion under the right and proper circumstances.
In my car.
Yeah.
Or
And we
truck.
have staff who've worked for our agency for, decades and have not seen a mountain lion. But there are instances when lions behave in ways that put them in conflict with human beings, often because of some of the choices that we are making. So we do a great deal, as does your agency, I think, to help people understand, where those kind of awarenesses are really key to have. And it's unusual for us to close a trail, but we will if we've had an unusual level of mountain lion activity. And usually it's one lion who's behaving in a way that is like, okay, we would rather you're off, further afield. And it's I think more concern really that understanding that the lions want to avoid us, as you were pointing out earlier.
They like deer.
Yeah, that's our primary prey for them. And we joke that you're really more at risk from getting a tick on you or from getting poison oak, and rattlesnakes. So those are sort of the key things that we want people to be aware of. That there aren't a ton of hazards out there other than watching your own feet and not tripping as you're going down the trail, which often happens. But it's important to be aware. So I think safety is it's an important thing for us to be able to let the public know about, and for people to take that personal responsibility to understand as well.
Sure.
I mean, these critters belong here just as much as we do.
Right.
So we want to make sure that you're aware of what to do in case you encounter one. But it's they're more likely to see you and avoid you than you are to see them.
I see.
Mountain lions in particular. But it's ticks and snakes and dogs off leash, or not wearing a helmet if you're riding a bike, things like that. Having enough water. All those things are the things we want you to be aware of and be safe about.
Okay, and it sounds like there are resources online people can find on your website.
Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
And just with the internet as it is now, there's so much people can learn and develop their understanding, or you can go to some of the outdoor stores that will also have
Right,
great
REI
tips
does a lot of programs. I mean, they do some programs with you guys.
Yeah, they do.
We do
they
too.
help with our geocaching program as well, too. So.
Yeah, or you can just look up the 10 essentials from the mountaineers. And,
That's a great one.
Yeah.
And just if people want to understand more of our impacts, something like Leave No Trace.
That's a good one.
Which is a great website too that helps people understand how you can minimize your impacts. Because even though we live in this area where there's whatever the Bay Area population is these days,
millions.
you can get a few miles out on a trail and really feel like you are.
That's the thing. It's like even at Rancho, right, which is the parking lot is nuts.
Crazy. Oh,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
But you go a mile away from there, and where is everybody?
It's a very
and
different
the same with the
environment.
Rastradero. It's the mini-me of Rancho.
Yeah.
That parking lot. It's full. And there's people parked along the roadway, and you just get a half mile in. It's like I'm driving around or I'm hiking the trails and going, where is
are those
everybody?
people?
I don't see anyone. Oh, hello. Good to see you. I'm so happy to see you. Tell me all about what you've seen.
Yeah, well, it's so great that we live in an area where we can be out in nature in just a few minutes. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Do you have anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
I've sort of clicked into this idea now that, it's an opportunity and an excuse for yourself if you have family or friends coming to visit, that you use that to get out and do some exploring, So we're all going to promise to do that, take someone new out somewhere we haven't been before.
Yes, my parents are visiting, so
Great.
yeah, so getting some ideas.
Appreciate the opportunity to see Kathleen, who I haven't seen in a while.
I haven't seen Renee in a while.
I feel the camaraderie here.
Yeah. Well, I interned with Renee when I was changing careers.
Nice. That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much once again. And that just about wraps it up for Behind the Headlines this week. Thank you so much for joining us, tuning in. If you like what you see and hear, feel free to subscribe, the button below, and follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @Palo Alto Weekly. And you can find us on Facebook and Instagram @Palo Alto Online. Thanks.